Hello, my name is Bethany Powell, and along with Mila Young and Bianca White, I will be discussing racist myths. So, the basic definition of racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. Okay, so myth number one. Myth number one says that racism is caused by ignorance. Now, this is a myth because there have been many instances where educated people have been racist or have discriminated against someone else. An example of this would be when lawyers fought for equal but separate schooling between the whites and the blacks. If you go back in history, that was during the segregation period, where the whites would have the better schooling and they would have the better water fountains and stuff like that. And then the African American students would have the kind of beat up, the kind of old schooling and water fountains and just things like that. Another instance is when people who hold high positions in court, if they use derogatory terms against others, that is considered racism. That is considered racism, and it is not caused by ignorance because these are well-educated people. They've been educated in the art of law against all the things that have happened in the past, yet still to people of color, Hispanics, people of Asian descent, there's still that shield or that door that kind of divides them from other people. Another instance that will be named again later on is when the bombing of Pearl Harbor happened, and Americans in general, not just Caucasian people, were very racist towards people of Asian descent, like Japanese and Chinese and Korean. So, myth number two. Myth number two says that racism will end as we have more interracial relationships and more integration between the races. Now, this is simply not true because there will always be that line that kind of divides everyone. An example of this would be in religious purposes. People of color, tend to have their churches. They tend to be loud and they tend to sing a lot of songs and their services go on and just things like that. Whereas with the Caucasian people, that sounds so rude. With Caucasian people, they tend to be more quiet. They tend to be more. Their services tend to be a little bit faster, maybe like an hour or two. Now, there has been a little bit of integration where you will see Caucasian people in an African American church, or you'll see an African American in a Caucasian church, but there's never going to be that full-on half and half integration. Another example of this can be a relationship between two people, whether they be like together in love or just in general. So the reason why this aspect of that is a myth is because you will always have somebody else's opinion. You will always have your family. from personal experience, I know that my grandmother would very much prefer to see us in a relationship with other African American people, people who look like me, but she has come to accept the fact that my cousins are not like that and that they will date outside of their race. But again, it's that mentality that you're only supposed to date within your race, and it's the looks that people give you when you go out to restaurants and just things like that. And then there's just a lot of older people who believe that what they're saying is right. People who think that interracial relationships are just wrong and that they shouldn't be, whether they are harmful with their intent to ruin the relationship. Now that is something a little bit different. But yeah, that's a myth. Racism will not end as we have more interracial relationships. It's just not enough to solve the problem. Okay, so this is a did you know? So a growing share of African Americans are completing high school and college. Now, after slavery and the duration of segregation, African Americans, or just people of color in general, have not, by people of color, I mean Hispanics, Asian American, just people who are not Caucasian. So during segregation, not many people of color were completing high school, let alone college. So for the first time in US history, 90% of Americans between the ages of 25 and older have completed high school, according to the US Census Bureau. And the share of Blacks who have done so is also at the highest level in record. In 2017, 87% of Blacks ages 25 and older had a high school diploma or equivalent, meaning a GED. The share of Blacks against ages 25 and older who have completed 4 years of college or more has also roughly doubled during the span, from 12% in 1993 to 24% in 2017. Meaning that as we encourage and as we tear down walls, many other people and many other kids and many other young adults will get the chance to live on and be successful in their lives and in their careers. All it takes is drive and drive, intent, and support. Without support, there's not much that we can do. A couple of days ago, the Miss Universe winner was from South Africa, and one of her platforms is leadership in women specifically, because women, they're seen more as the caretaker, more as the caretaker. And it's not many times where you see a woman in a leadership role. And what Miss Universe was saying was that if we push our women, if we tell them that they are leaders, and if we believe in them, and if we support them, then there will be no room for discouragement, unless it's their intent to not be part of that. So, yeah, that's the end of my portion of the presentation. Thank you.